He was a billionaire CEO, feared and admired in equal measure. She was just a cashier trying to survive one more day. But when she stopped his hand and said, "That's the wrong trick," the world seemed to freeze, because no one had ever dared correct Alexander Reed before. What neither of them knew was that those 4 words would change both their lives forever. The glass doors of Henderson Enterprises slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a world too polished to feel real. Every surface gleamed, marble floors, mirrored walls, brushed steel frames. It was the kind of place that smelled like ambition and success. The kind of place where people didn't walk. They moved, fast, efficient, purposeful. And in the middle of all that, Maya Evans felt completely out of place. She stood behind the counter of Bean and Marble, the lobby cafe, nervously adjusting her apron for the 5th time. The espresso machine hissed beside her, frothing milk like an impatient dragon. Her fingers trembled slightly as she wiped down the counter again, though it was already spotless. It was only her 4th day on the job. She had worked at plenty of coffee shops before, but this one was different. Every order came from someone who earned more in a week than she might in a year. Every word was measured, clipped, and cold. There was no room for mistakes here, because one small mistake could cost her everything. She needed this job. Her father's stroke had drained the family savings. Her mother was doing what she could, but with medical bills piling up, Maya had taken the first opening she could find. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. The pay wasn't much, but the tips, if the customers were generous, could help cover another week of medication. She reminded herself of that every morning. Smile, Maya. Keep your head down. Don't get in trouble. But that morning, the energy in the building was different. Even the executives at the corner tables were whispering. Everyone was talking about one man, Alexander Reed, the billionaire CEO himself. They said he was a genius, ruthless, brilliant, a man who built an empire before he turned 35 and turned every deal he touched into gold. His words could make markets rise or fall, and today, he was here, in person, to close a $200 million merger that would seal his company's dominance for years. No one saw him often, and if he appeared, you made sure to look busy and never, ever make eye contact. Maya told herself that, but the universe had other plans. At exactly 8:47 a.m., the door opened again and the air seemed to change. Conversation stopped. Even the barista beside her stopped steaming milk mid-motion. He walked in, Alexander Reed. He was taller than she'd expected. His suit was perfectly tailored, his dark hair slicked back, his tie an expensive shade of midnight. His eyes were like cold steel, sharp, focused, the kind that seemed to weigh and measure everything they saw. He didn't walk. He commanded the space. Behind him, an assistant hurried with 2 phones, a tablet, and a stack of folders clutched like precious artifacts. "Double espresso," he said without looking up, his voice smooth but firm, like someone used to being obeyed. Maya nodded, her heart hammering. She fumbled slightly with the portafilter, praying not to spill. When she turned back, she saw him pull out his card, sliding it across the counter toward her. Only he had placed it upside down, chip side away. She reached for the card reader, hesitated, then looked up. "Sir, you'll need to—" "Just swipe it," he said sharply, eyes still glued to his phone. Her hands froze. "It won't work that way," she said carefully. He didn't look up. "It will." Her mouth went dry. Every instinct screamed at her to stay quiet, to just do as he said. But something about the way he said it, like he was too powerful to be wrong, made something inside her tighten. Sorry, sir," she said, her voice trembling but steady enough to be heard. "That's the wrong trick." The words hung in the air like an explosion. He looked up slowly, his gaze sharp enough to slice through the silence. The assistant's face drained of color. A couple of nearby executives froze mid-step, pretending to check their phones. "The wrong—" "What?" he asked quietly. Maya swallowed hard. "The wrong trick. The card. You're trying to swipe it when the chip needs to be inserted. The reader locks when it's done wrong too many times." For a second, he just stared at her. The CEO, the billionaire, the man no one dared correct. And then he smiled. It wasn't a cold, polite smile either. It was small, genuine, almost curious. The wrong trick, he repeated softly, as if tasting the words. Interesting choice of phrase. He flipped the card, inserted it properly, and the machine beeped its approval. Transaction complete. Maya forced a smile, handing him the cup. Double espresso, no sugar. He took it, eyes still on her. Thank you, Miss Evans, she said. Maya Evans. Maya, he repeated slowly, as if committing it to memory. You may have just saved me a few seconds. And with that, he turned and walked away, his assistant trailing behind. Maya exhaled shakily, realizing she'd been holding her breath. The people around her stared in disbelief. No one had ever corrected Alexander Reed before, and lived to tell the tale. But somehow, instead of firing her, he'd... Fine. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Maya tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept replaying the moment. That's the wrong trick. The way he had looked at her afterward. Not angry, not insulted, just intrigued. It was ridiculous. She was nobody. Just a cashier in his building? Whatever that moment had been, it meant nothing. By noon, the cafe emptied as the executives rushed upstairs for the big meeting, the $200 million merger everyone had been preparing for. Maya stayed behind the counter, cleaning up, listening absently to the echo of voices and footsteps fading through the lobby. Then, just before 1 o'clock, she heard it again. Footsteps, fast, nervous, echoing back toward the cafe. It was one of the assistants, pale-faced, clutching a tablet. We need a quick coffee set for the boardroom. Urgent! 10 cups, black, extra strong. Maya nodded quickly, starting the order. As she worked, she caught bits of conversation from the assistant on the phone. Something about the file freezing and the digital signature not loading. Panic in his voice. She finished the order and, without thinking twice, offered to help carry it up. The assistant hesitated but waved her along. Fine, just be careful. Don't touch anything in there. The top floor was like another planet. Polished floors, panoramic windows overlooking the city, walls lined with awards and photographs. Inside the main boardroom sat Alexander Reed and a dozen executives. The air felt heavy, tense. A massive screen at the end of the room showed the merger document, but the cursor blinked endlessly. Frozen. The file's not responding, said one of the men, sweat beading at his temples. The international partners are waiting for the signature feed. This can't be happening now. Alexander stood at the head of the table, expression unreadable. Fix it, he said simply. We're trying, sir, but the display... Maya set the tray down quietly and noticed something odd. The signature panel was open on the secondary monitor, but everyone kept tapping the mirrored projection instead. She hesitated, heart pounding. Then, before her brain could stop her mouth, she spoke. Excuse me, she said softly. You're doing the wrong trick again. The room went dead silent. Every head turned toward her. She froze, realizing she'd said it again, to him. Alexander blinked once, slowly. I beg your pardon? She took a shaky breath. The system, it's not frozen. It's mirrored mode. You're signing on the wrong screen. You just need to drag the control back to the main input. For a moment, no one moved. Then the IT technician hesitated, tried it, and the file came to life. The signature line appeared instantly. The system beeped. The deal could continue. Everyone exhaled at once. A few people even clapped. Alexander looked at Maya like she had just solved an equation no one else could see. You again, he said quietly. She smiled awkwardly. Guess I'm just good with wrong tricks. His lips curved into that same small smile. Apparently. The meeting resumed. The signatures were placed, the deal was finalized, and $200 million officially changed hands. Henderson Enterprises had done it. But as the executives celebrated, Alexander didn't join in right away. His gaze lingered on Maya as she carefully gathered the empty coffee cups, avoiding the attention she'd accidentally drawn. Something about her stood out. Not her appearance, though she was striking in her quiet way, but her composure. The courage to speak, even when she had everything to lose. After the boardroom emptied, he found her in the corridor, wiping down the tray. "Maya Evans," he said, his tone softer now. "You've helped me twice today." She straightened quickly. "I didn't mean to intrude, sir. I was just observant," he finished. "That's a quality I value." She blushed slightly. "Thank you, sir. I'm just glad it worked." He watched her for a moment, his eyes unreadable. "You notice details most people overlook. That's rare." Then, almost as if he were testing her, he added, "I could use someone like that." She looked confused. "In the cafe?" "In life," he said simply. Then, seeing her startled expression, he smiled faintly and walked away.